Hey everybody, Bill Faith here, and welcome back to the Build Short-Term Rental Wealth YouTube channel. This morning, not only am I in my secret kind of morning spot. You can see my smoker right behind me. I got my prep table, I got my heater, but it's the first time that I'm going to be filming out here, and it's because spring has sprung. Maybe it's still just springing a little bit. It's kind of going back and forth depending on where you live, but it's a beautiful morning here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I just got done over the last 2 days working with one of my students in a private 2-day boot camp with him and his daughter, and they have a tremendous business that they're running. And it got me thinking as I logged back in last night, as I was absolutely exhausted after 2 long days, about 9-10 hours each, and really see all these comments that are happening on social media about avoiding saturated markets. So today I want to talk about, should you or should you not be investing into saturated markets? And I'm just going to get cut right to the chase. 100% you should. 100% you should. My boy Chris will drop a graphic right here. 100% you should be investing into saturated markets. And I hear it all the time, whether it's on coaching calls or just scrolling through social media or in my Build Short-Term Rental Wealth Facebook group. It's like, Bill, you know, the market's so hot. It's like all cash, same day offers, multiple offers. It's a bidding war. Properties are going 10, 20%, 30% above asking price. I get it, 100%. And it's not just where you are. It is literally everywhere from the Poconos to Palm Springs, from the Gulf Coast, you know, to Anchorage, Alaska. It's happening all over the country. But what I don't foresee happening is a lot of people are just going to sit back and wait. Now, those multiple offers, 10, 20, 30% over asking, will dissipate at some time, and I think they'll probably start to die down as summer goes through and we break into fall. But what I don't see happening is I don't see a correction coming in the market like we lived through 2008, 9, and 10, to where there's literally tens of thousands of properties that are left vacant, like what happened in, you know, the Palmdale, Lancaster, California area in late 2008, early 2009, and into 10. What I do see happening is maybe a little bit of a softening to where, you know, like on the Gulf Coast where I do a lot of investing, you know, we're literally seeing 5, 6, sometimes 10% appreciation in a month right now. I don't see that sustaining, but I also don't see the correction where we're going to see a 10, 20, 30% drop either. So if we're not going to see a 10, 20, 30% drop, then now's actually a good time to invest, especially if you can find a property, because we are at the end, we're coming to the end of March right now, so we still have April and May to get ready for ultra peak season, to where you could get into the game prior to the ultra peak season starting. And here's why. A lot of you may know a gentleman that I took down to Gulf Shores, Alabama. We flew down from Nashville. I helped him sell a property that he had been STRing forever here. Now I'm managing that property for the buyer of his property, and I took him down to Gulf Shores because he was 1031ing. And I'm not going to bore you with the long story, but we found a property the day that we were only there for 1 day. We found the property that we're there before it hit the market. He saved about $75,000 prior to purchasing. I did all of the research, all the research I teach you in my AirDNA training course, my pre-sale prep, all of these things to make the right investment. And he did. By golly, he did. And I estimated ADR, I looked at occupancy. I've been in that market. I used my own intuition, my own experience, my knowledge. And literally I looked at ultra peak season. For me, and down in that market in Gulf Shores, Alabama, it's Memorial Day to the 2nd week of August. That's when kids are out of school. That's ultra peak season. And all indicators showed that $900 to $1,000 a night was going to be the absolute maximum ADR with AirDNA research, Price Labs research. I even jumped into Wheelhouse to do research. I went through manually with every competitor down there. And here's why I knew the market so well, is I already owned a lot 2 doors down. And his house is a 5.4 with a pool. I'm building, or a 5.3.5 with a pool. I'm building a 6.4 with a pool that's, you know, probably about 1,100 square feet larger. So I knew that market. And all indicators are 900 to 1,000 for ultra peak season. Well, I can tell you that right now, we're getting $1,250 to $1,350 ADR for ultra peak season. $1,250 to $1,350 for ultra peak season. So that property, if he would have overpaid by 10%, he most likely is going to recoup within 6 months the overage that he would have overpaid by buying that property now. Now, if it would have hit the market, which he did not overpay, he actually underpaid by about 10 to 15%. Now he's got himself a double whammy. So if you're gonna try to buy and penetrate into a saturated market, a hot market, the Palm Springs, the Gatlinburgs, the Scottsdales, anywhere on the Gulf Coast, even the Myrtle Beaches and the Poconos, all of these traditional drive-in vacation rental markets are hot right now. The real estate's appreciating. You're getting well above 2020 and 2019 ADRs. Well, what you really want to look at is if you make the investment today, how's that going to affect you long-term on the appreciation scale, especially if it comes back and normalizes. 2, if you miss the summer, and the property I'm building, I'm going to miss the summer. So look, if he's doing $1,250 to $1,350, and I'm adding an extra bedroom, I'm adding actually an extra living space, a family room area, and I'm going to have an extra bathroom, and I've got the exact same views, the exact same location that he has. I'm literally looking at probably another $100 to $150, maybe even $200 a night. But I'm missing that through the summer, and it kills me every day. Thank God I manage that property for him, so I get a little bit of a taste coming back on my management fees. The second part is people believe that you can't compete in the Davenport Floridas and the Kissimmee Floridas and the Gatlinburgs because the market's oversaturated. There's 7,000, there's 4,000, there's 10,000 STRs that are there. You've got to do your pre-purchase research and really look at the niches inside of those submarkets that are still performing well and have opportunity, because every single market in the country, every single market in the world, from Phuket to literally Buenos Aires, Argentina, to Gulf Shores, Alabama, has submarkets, and you can find a niche inside of it. And I was on Clubhouse yesterday morning with one of my mastermind group students, and he was telling the story of the research that he did down in the Davenport and Kissimmee area. Well, if you're a condo STR, I 100% would stay away from the Kissimmee area. The 1, 2, 3 bedroom condos, the 2s with the amenities, it's like a blank canvas, and it's a price driven buyer's market down there. And by buyer, I mean your guests. Now, if you go a few minutes away and you're looking into the Davenport market, you're looking into the Windermere market and places that are close to Disney, but now you're looking at large-scale single-family homes to where you have this bigger canvas that's able to be customized to where you can drop in the fire pit, you can drop in the pool, you can put in slides, you can put in the outdoor amenities, you can put in your trampoline, whatever you want to do. I'm not advocating for a trampoline based on safety, but it's an option. It gives you a bigger canvas to be able to work with, and the demand for those is extremely high, especially for the next literally 6 months through ultra peak season, and I believe for the next 24 months at least, because there's so many people in California, Oregon, Washington, Michigan, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, just to name a few states that have been on lockdown much longer than where I live in the South, that want to see their family. They're traveling. We're talking multi-family properties, in my opinion, are what's going to drive the most revenue and the highest return on investment. So you can go buy 3 2-2 condos and do your $50,000 a year guaranteed, $150,000, and you're probably going to spend about $350 to $450, let's just say $400,000 a piece. So that's going to be $1.2 million, or go spend $900,000 to $1.2 million on an 8 or a 10 bedroom place in Davenport and be able to generate $200,000 to $300,000 in revenue on an annualized basis. All of this has to do with how you host, has to do with how you buy for your cash on cash return, how much due diligence, how much planning, preparation, and pro forma building. You need to have a business plan. You need to have some calls to action. You need to be able to forecast expenses. You need to have enough cash for your carrying costs. You really need to know what your cash flow management is going to be. You need to dive deep into RevPAR. You need to look at the pacing. And that's something that's huge for me with my research in AirDNA, is when I look at pacing, there's a great feature inside of AirDNA. And look, there's no affiliate links or anything here. I'm just telling you the way that I do it and the way that I've been able to build a multi-million-dollar portfolio, because I'm not a billionaire. I'm not loaded with, $50 million like other people that are in this business that can just go write a check, for a $2 million property or go buy micro hotels or whatever it is. I can't do that. It's different for me and you, right? This is the reality of how you really try to make money starting from the bottom and working your way up, one property at a time. And that cash flow invests into another one, and that cash flow invests into another property, right? And there's other things, there's tax advantages and stuff, but it all starts with the preparation for that first property or your next property. And the mentality needs to be for us is that our next property is our first property. Don't get arrogant. Don't get confident. Don't think, and I don't do it in the Gulf Shores market. I don't do it in Scottsdale, Arizona. I don't do it in markets that I know like the back of my hand. I still do my research, because the one time I didn't do that, it cost me over $90,000 on a colossal mistake that I made because I trusted an inexperienced agent. I got taken advantage of because I trusted my contractor, and I made a bad purchase. And the thing I'll share with you is my wife thought it was a bad purchase before we made it. She didn't want to work with a contractor, and I didn't listen to her. I didn't follow my freaking process. Make sure you have a process. If you don't have one, leave a comment down below, and I will help you get one, because I've got one that's been proven to work every single time, except for the one time that I did not follow it. So yes, you should be going into saturated markets because there is demand. It is proof of demand. Now let's just imagine that you're going to open up a clothing store. And you can live anywhere from Nashville to Los Angeles to Des Moines, Iowa to Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It doesn't matter. Are you going to go 15 miles away from the downtown area and find a rural road that may have like one gas station and a Piggly Wiggly, halfway, half a mile away? But you found this great lot or this great piece of commercial real estate that's cheap. Man, I can get a great cash on cash return there. And then you go to, the Department of Transportation, you see, oh wow, 6,000 cars drive past this location every single day in your research. But you're in the middle of nowhere. People aren't going to drive 15 or 20 minutes from downtown to go buy shirts from you unless you have the absolute best shirts ever at a value-based price that is fair. And most businesses are going to fail by going into that type of a location. That's why a lot of businesses, especially a lot of brick and mortar retail businesses, fail, because they look for the cost-efficient location and they're not buying based on traffic. They're not buying based on location like McDonald's, like Burger King. There's a reason that Burger King follows McDonald's everywhere that they go. McDonald's has been doing the research for 45 years. Boom, great location. Burger King will go, next door or 3 doors down. So when you go into a saturated market and make an investment, you are investing into a place that has built-in demand. It is up to you to create additional value and separate yourself from the average host, which, by the way, when you're doing AirDNA research, that is based on the average host. Even when you're looking at the 80th and 90th percentile, I look at the 50% and below. They shouldn't even be doing what we're doing. They shouldn't be involved in short-term rentals. But that 50th to 90th percentile, there's a reason that I outkick my coverage by it used to be 30 to 40%. Right now it's about 70%. So I'm going to the very top of the portfolio, that 90th to 100th percentile. And to me, that's average. And I can see that they're average. And there's, the stragglers that are in there that are doing it right, that are crushing it with all the added value, with great copywriting, great images, great design, great amenities, plus wanting, all that type of stuff. And man, I take note of them, of what they've got. Now, if I'm going in and I'm looking at not having a price point that's going to be able to compete with that top tier, I'm still doing the research there, because I'm going to take my mid-tier price point. Let's say I'm going into a place that's surrounded with $1 million homes that's doing $200,000 a year in revenue, and I'm buying a $500,000 home and I'm forecasting $85,000. I'm going to build my amenities. I'm going to do my furnishings to kind of compete with those higher level properties, so that way I can push the envelope and get close to them. If I can turn that $85,000 into $115,000 or $120,000, faster cash on cash return at a lower investment. There's a reason that I don't buy $2 million properties. There's a reason that my sweet spot has been $400,000, really probably about $500,000 to $900,000 for large, anywhere from 4-bedroom to up to 8-bedroom, single family, where multifamilies can stay, drive-in vacation rental markets, and what many of you would consider saturated markets. All because the demand is there. It's how I built my glow-in-the-dark miniature golf course business in the early 2000s. If you've ever been to a shopping mall back in the day, they ran all the way up until COVID hit in March of last year. Everywhere across the country, we've had over 200 of them nationwide. Multi-million-dollar business. We went into shopping malls. Why? Because there's built-in demand. We go to shopping malls and we walk around and we look at all the stores as opposed to going into a strip center. The same concept applies in saturated markets. So don't sleep on saturated markets and don't sleep on investing now. You still just have to negotiate and buy right. And the last tip that I'm going to give you, and this is probably the number one thing that's benefited me, just like when my friend Bill bought his property in Gulf Shores, we got it before it hit the market. You have got to work with the absolute best agent in that market. The absolute best. Not a friend of a cousin, not somebody that you see on Facebook and you don't vet and they say they own STRs. One, for me, they have to own multiple STRs and they got to understand the space that I'm going into. Two, I want to know how many properties they're selling on an annual basis. I want to know if they're getting above list price when they're selling, and I want to know what their connections are and how many properties they've sold to their buyers off market before it hits market. Those things are important to me, and please, when you find somebody like that, don't ever try to negotiate their commission down, because you're dealing with the best. So don't sleep on saturated markets. Get in the game. These real estate prices are not going to be going down anytime soon. Thank you for joining me on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you found any type of value inside of this. And jump over to Facebook and join my free Build Short-Term Rental Wealth Facebook group. Have a great day, everybody.